Our webinar series, we want to share insights, build our partnerships, support your success, make a difference in the world. So thank you for being here with us today. The topic we're going to speak about is MyQ Quotas. So we're going to be looking at how we can leverage this feature. On the next slide, we're going to look at some challenge statements, some issues your customers may be facing, and then we're going to go into a hands-on demonstration of those features. Wrapping that up, there's going to be a little interactive quiz or review, if you will. I think I've got 4 or 5 questions on this one today. For the top 3 respondents of those, MyQ is going to make a donation in your name to a charitable organization of your choice. Also, questions. If you have a question, please put it into the Q&A window. The chat window is kind of difficult to manage for the question perspective. So if you do have a question, use the Q&A function. I'll review those at the end after we take the quiz as well. And we'll answer those to the best of our ability. And we'll follow up with ones that we may have to follow up on. So our challenge statements. Number 1, my customer is concerned about receiving overage charges. Very common in a CPC or a cost per copy, cost per click type contract in our industry. Users are very concerned about those overages and they want a way to restrict or minimize or mitigate the potential for overages. So that's one challenge we can solve with the quota feature of the device. Looking at that and continuing that same thought process, a lot of folks will say, well, the devices have this built in. That's a complementary feature. Every manufacturer has it. That's true. I don't deny that point at all. And that works really, really well, in my opinion, if you have one device. If you have more than one device, it is difficult for users to maintain that information, to aggregate that information, or even simply for one device to know how many impressions were made at the other device. So in this case, the built-in device quota feature is difficult for my customer to administer. We want to use MyQ to centralize that function of the quota aspect so that it is easier to administer. Number 3, my customer would like to receive an automated report of their user's quota status. Because all this information is aggregated into one location in the MyQ database, we can leverage our reporting tool to have these scheduled. End of month, first of the month, end of the week, beginning of the week, whenever you want it, you can run a report and immediately see who's over their quota, who's approaching their quota, things of that nature. Number 4, my customer only needs to limit color output, not monochrome. So print as much as you want in monochrome, knock yourself out. But I want to control how much color you output. That's another feature that we're going to look at today. So there's 4 challenge statements. Think about those as we go through the presentation, as we go through the demonstration, I should say, because we're done with the presentation. I hate PowerPoint. I use it as much as I have to the extent that I must. So in our live demonstration, we're going to look at these types of challenges. So keep them in mind of how you can apply this to your customer. So let me move around my screens just a little bit. Let me share my monitor. Go and let's get this set. So I'm starting at my device. So this is the device here in my home office. Anytime we have this window up, the premise, the theory is that you're standing here in my home office with me. You're looking over my shoulder and we're looking at the panel of my device. I want to start here to show you what a quota looks like, and then we're going to go into the MyQ web interface to see how these are administered. So starting out, obviously, we all know users must log in or authenticate to MyQ. PIN number, proximity badge, I've got one of those laying around here somewhere, a QR code from their phone, even a username and password. So I'm going to type in my PIN number, 1205. And the really only thing I want you to see right now is here at the top of the page, we'll see, obviously, it identifies me because I logged in. I have a monthly allowance quota, and I have 2 restrictions in place. My total pages and color pages. And if I click on this, or if we were standing there, I would touch the device panel. You can see it tells me my monthly allowance, I have performed 35 of 1,000 total pages that I'm allowed to do, utilize 3%. and I have printed 0 of my 250 color pages. So from the panel of the device, that's what this experience looks like for the user. I'm going to log out, and I want to come over to the MyQ web interface. I want to show you how this is created, administered. So if I come to the settings area, I've already navigated here to the quota function. We can see it's enabled. You have a warning email, and once they have reached or exceeded their quota, there's an email for that as well. I have one created here called monthly allowance. You already saw that name. It applies to all users. So let me double click on this, and we're going to kind of break it down section by section. So starting at the top, just a name. What period? Typically, you're looking at month. That's what most folks use. But see, we can specify different periods of time: week, month, quarter, half year, last number of days, all types of functions. But for the demo today, we're going to look at a month. The period start? Well, starts on the first of the month. One question I like to ask folks sometimes, if we go back to February this year was the unique instance. How many months have 28 days? A lot of folks will say, well, there's 1 month. Wrong. Each month has 28 days. Each month has a first day as well. So that's why I like to use period start, first day of the month. Who are we monitoring? We can monitor an individual user. We can say members of a group. Now, in this case, members of a group, and we'll see I have all users selected. This means that each individual person, each individual user is their own silo. So me, Robbie Morris, I have 1,000 total pages, 250 color pages. We could toggle this to accounting group. I like that a little better. There you go. Accounting group. In accounting group mode, each member of the group is part of the collective. So in the example there, if I were a member, let's say, let me make this a little bit of a better visual. Let's say HR users. So in this case, if a member of the HR group performed 50 color pages, because they are treated as a collective, as a single entity, this would mean that the remaining members, including the one who did the original 50, have a collective of 200 pages remaining. So that's the difference between members of a group and accounting group. Members of a group treats each person as themselves, as their own. When you're in an accounting group, the group is a collective as a whole. So if I do 50, I am subtracting that from the available balance of the entire group. So I'm going to talk back over to members of a group, all users. Our monitored value, cost or pages. And then obviously based on which I select, these will change of what type of data I input. So in this case, if I'm monitoring pages, my print and copy total, I can do 1,000. Of those 1,000, 250 could be color. I don't have to fill this in. Obviously, the system will know if I've exhausted these 250 color, then I can still do a remaining 1,000 monochrome pages. I've never personally seen anyone apply a quota to a scan total, but I suppose you can. Somebody must have asked for it at some point. If I were to change this over to cost, well, now it just changes to a flat numerical currency value, or a monetary value, I guess would be a better way of saying a numerical currency value. It changes to a monetary value. So here I could say $15. I don't care how much monochrome you print, how much color you print. I care about how much it's going to cost. So in this case, I can limit you to those $15. Now you're probably thinking, what happens when they reach that threshold? I'm going to show you that. I'm going to toggle this back over to pages, and I'm actually going to lower mine. You may have seen, if you noticed, I have performed 35 pages this month of my quota. I'm going to lower my print and copy total actually down to 30. So when I apply this, I will automatically be in an overage situation now for my total pages. But we're going to come back to that. Actually, when the warning level is reached, So I've got the default of 80%. So it means that I have utilized 80% of my quota, or I have 20% remaining. The user will automatically get an email. And that's where you can specify this email here, the text of what they receive. You can also alternatively, or in addition to, send a notification to an additional individual. So perhaps if we go back to the HR users, in addition to that user being notified, I could notify the VP of HR or the director of HR, whoever that next level person is. Action when the quota is reached. We've got the ability to disable the operation. So in this case, if I exceed my print and copy total and or my print and copy color value, I will no longer be able to perform the respective function in which I have exceeded. Now I can turn that off and a user will reach their quota. It will say, you've gone over it. They'll kind of get that annoying warning that says, you know, you've hit this threshold that we've put in place, but it won't stop them. It'll let them continue. So if disable operation is not checked, a user can exceed their quota. I'm going to check it because I want you to see what happens when I log back in. Terminate the current job when reached. Now, this is a funny one. Going back to my example of 250 color pages. With this option disabled, as it is now, if I sent a job that was 300 color pages, the device would process and finish that job, even though it's going to put me over my allowance. If I were to check this box, such that it is now, if I sent a 300-page job, I would get 250 pages, and then it would stop. I don't use that feature a lot, very often. And then there's the additional notification as well. So once the quota is reached, the user automatically gets an email, but you could also notify an additional individual, like a superior, something like that. So let's see. We talked about the accounting groups. We talked about cost versus pages. We talked about the disabling of operations. So that pretty much covers all the functions here on this screen. Let's save this one. And let's come back to my device. I'm going to log in again. Now it's turned red. Monthly allowance, total pages, quota spent. And we can see that the print button, as well as what were the copy buttons, are disabled because I have a low quota. If I touch, or in this case, click on the quota again, it tells me my total pages quota has been spent. So even though I didn't use any of my color allotment, I went over the total allowed pages. I modified it from that 1,000 down to 30 to create this scenario for you. So what happens when a user reaches whatever arbitrary threshold you've put in place? You can log in as an administrator or as a user who has this permission on the users page. Let's scroll down and find me. Here I am. I'm going to right click. I'm going to select boost quota. So on this screen, we see I am at -5. My remaining is 35 of 30. So I have exceeded that quota by 5 pages. There's a 24 days remaining in the period, but here I can boost this. I can do it at the current date and time. I could do it in the future if I wanted to. Let's say I'm going to be generous. I'm going to give you 20 more pages. Press OK. And now if I look at it again, we'll see I'm at 15 remaining. I was at -5. I gave you 20, so it subtracted those 5 from the total to put me back into the positive value. And if I come back to the device, we'll log in again. There we go. I am back. These functions are now re-enabled for me. I can release my jobs. I can make copies if I needed to until this quota is exhausted and spent again. Then I'll have to wait for my renewal period, or someone will have to boost it. Speaking of those renewal periods, that's another very important point. And if we go back and think about what I was saying with those 4 challenges we thought, A lot of times with the built-in job accounting features of the device, each month you would have to go out and zero that meter. And if you don't remember to do it on the first, well, it's not going to happen automatically. So with MyQ, there is no need to have to go back and zero meters out. The database knows between this period of time, it knows what day of the week or what day of the month it is. It calculates all that for you automatically. So users don't have to think about it. Once it's set up, it's a hands-off process that is automated for them. Speaking of automation, reports. I mentioned that. If I want to see the quota status for my users, I can run this as a PDF, a CSV file, an XML file, an XLS file, or an ODS file. All these different file types. So I could use this, maybe I want to manipulate it in Excel or import it into another program using CSV, or just have a PDF to look at. Here, if I preview it, go to the graphical preview, a little bit a nicer view. This is what the PDF would look like if we printed it. So let's scroll down this list and find Robbie Morris. Here's Robbie Morris. And we can see where I've kind of played with the quota for him this month of how many pages he's used, how many he's allowed to use, what his balance is. And you can see the column headings again. Where I boosted him by 20 page, what his utilization is and what the actual counters are. The nice part about these reports inside of MyQ, they can be scheduled as well. So if I come here and select Edit and scroll down to Schedule, this is again where I don't have to think about it. I can say monthly on the first of each month at 5 a.m. email a report to Diego, and Diego would like that report PDF CSV as an Excel file. Oh, I don't need to send it here. The recipient is going to be Diego. Post quota report, please see attached. So if I were to save this on the first of the month, it's going to run that report, send it to him as email automatically in the file format that he wants. So that's the automated reporting aspect of it. So if we go back and look, let me check my points here one more time. My customers concerned about receiving overage charges. Well, we can see how quotas can help restrict or keep them from going over a certain allotment. The built-in device quota feature is difficult for my customer to administer. This is all administered in one location. I'm not having to do it on a per device or per MFP setup. My customer would like to receive an automated report. You just saw that. My customer only needs to limit color output. We can do that. So print as much monochrome as you wish. There's also a desktop client. We're not showing that today. That's going to be on a future webinar, but a utility that can be installed on a user's PC or Mac, where when they're printing, they can actually see real-time status of their quota. So even before they send a job, the utility on their computer could tell them that they're approaching their quota limit. They can see what their current count is. So those are the items I wanted to demonstrate for you today. We're doing very well on our time. I don't see any questions yet. Must mean that I am doing an excellent job of explaining the topic, or everyone's just shy and waiting till the end, probably the latter. But let's go ahead and move over to our quiz portion. So let me stop my screen and get this loaded up. We're going to be using Mentimeter for this today. Start sharing. Get this where I can see it very well. Okay. Test your knowledge. So, like I said, top 3 contestants will have a donation made to a charitable organization of your choice. Now, what's on this next screen is one of the most important items. When I advance this to the next screen, it is going to ask you for your name. Please, 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 please put your real first and last name. If I don't have your real first and last name, it is very difficult for me to reach out to you afterwards if you're one of the winners. So please put in your real first and last name. There'll be a button to join the quiz. Once you're there, get ready to respond. I hope most of you are watching today from a laptop device or desktop device. If you are on a mobile device, don't let your screen go to sleep. I've had folks miss out because their screen went to sleep on them. Okay, I'm going to advance it forward. You should be prompted now to input your real first and last name. So go ahead and get that set up. All right, 51 players already ready to play. Oh, somebody dropped out. We're down to 50. Back to 51. Okay, I'm going to sit here just for another few seconds. Some folks may have that long name, so it takes a while to type it in. Okay, let's say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go with question 1. It's going to present the question. You'll have 15 seconds to respond. Some of these are multiple choice. Some are going to be true, false. Read them closely. Things that may be italicized in the question. Here we go. Which of these is not a method MyQ uses to monitor output? By user, by members of a group, by accounting group, or by device group. Which of these is not a method MyQ, oops, typo there, uses to monitor output? Correct, by device group. So I showed you the 3 different ways we monitor or who to monitor. The first was user, the second was group of users, and then the third was the accounting group where everyone is treated as a collective. But all of that is irregardless of the device they're going to. All right, 16 of you got that one right. Let's go on to the next one. Question number 2, here we go. True or false, MyQ can monitor values based on cost or pages. This one should be pretty easy. All right, 5 seconds to respond. Oh, man, you guys were paying attention on that one. Everyone got that one correct. That is true. We can monitor on cost or pages. All right, next question. After this one, we're going to see a leaderboard. We're going to see who our top folks are. So you'll have 2 more opportunities to move up. All right, question 3, get ready. Is it possible for a user to continue to generate output once a quota is reached? Yes, if disable operation is not enforced. Or no, once a quota is reached, output always stops. This is a little bit of a tricky one. Read it close. The correct answer was yes, if disable operation is not enforced. So like I said, a user reaches that threshold, they can continue making output if we do not enforce the disable operation option. All right, let's look at the leaderboard. See who's out on top. This is going to show us the person that responded to the last question the fastest, and then our top ones as well. Tim Smith answered that question the fastest. We got Josh. Josh, I was emailing with you earlier today. Great to see you on here. Jordan, I'm looking forward to seeing you next month. All right, and Tim, those are our top 3 folks. Let's go to the next 2 questions. Question number 4. With MyQ, do quotas have to be reset manually for each defined period? Yes, there is no automation provided by MyQ, or no, MyQ streamlines and automates this process. Think about it carefully. I got a few of you on that one. So MyQs quotas in MyQ do not have to be reset manually. That's the benefit of bringing it all into the MyQ platform. We will handle that and do it automatically based on that period you defined. All right, last question. Here we go. Which of the following is not a format MyQ will send automate report as? PDF, CSV, Excel, or Microsoft Access Database, which is not a format MyQ will send as. Here we go. Let's see. The answer was Microsoft Access Database. I'm going to bet a few of you folks who picked PDF, CSV, or Excel, you were clicking just as fast as you could, betting the odds that you would get the right one. So Microsoft Access Database is the format in which we will not automate a report. All right, let's look at the leaderboard. Let's see who came out on top. Oh man, these are neck and neck. So, Josh, congratulations. You were top. Mr. Jordan Becker, you came in second. And I think it's hard for me to see in the background, but that'll be Gary. Gary, my buddy up in Pennsylvania, I believe you came in third. So thank you guys. I will be reaching out. Excuse me, I will not be reaching out. My vice president, Victor, will be reaching out to you, contacting you about which organization you'd like to submit those donations to on your behalf. All right. Thank you guys for playing along. Let's see. Let me stop sharing the Menti quiz. All right. Looking at the Q&A, I don't think there's anything there yet. Oh, here's one. Okay. Did you say that the quota can refresh on the first of each month? That is correct, Wayne. Yes. So that's what we're talking about there, the automated feature. So that once you define the period, let me reshare my screen so I can show it to you. I love showing you instead of just telling you. When we're defining the period, in this case, month, the period start is the first of the month, vis-a-vis when the month ends and the first of the month rolls around again, that is when the period resets itself. And you can define different periods as well. I didn't mention this earlier too. You can have multiple quotas defined. So let's say, for example, if you're a school, you could say students have a monthly quota, but teachers have a quarterly quota. You do have that capability as well. If a user is potentially multiple quotas are applicable to a user, it's always going to be the most restrictive quota. And then if you were to boost them, the secondary quotas would kick in at that point. Do unused copies or prints move to next month? Oh, that's a good question. Rollover. No, they do not roll over. There is not a, we're not Verizon. There's no rollover minutes. The periods are treated exclusively to each time period. Good question, though. I like that one. All right. Don't see. Oh, here's some more. Okay. In what cases do customers use cost versus pages? Okay, so we were talking about that one there. So inside of MyQ, and let me kind of show you another feature to help bring that point around. In MyQ, you define price list. So when users print or when users copy, we have an applicable rate for each of those. We can also do it based on paper format. So like in this case, if they're using ledger paper, I charge an extra 10 cents because you're using ledger paper in addition to what your output rate would be. You see here as well, full color by coverage. There are some manufacturers where MyQ integrates and they have what are called 3-tier color options where you have a low, medium, high counter or meter for output. We can apply a rate to those different tiers. So when you're looking at your quota and you're applying it based on cost, it would be relative to the output you made based on the rates associated with print and copy or even paper format. And then if you're one of the manufacturers that has the ability with the tier coverage, assuming users print in a low tier, that amount of money, if it were $15, I think is what we used before, that $15 could potentially stretch longer if everything is a tier 1 type rate being applied to it. Whereas quantity, you do this number of pages, you use this many sheets of paper, regardless of whether it may be color or monochrome, then it would stop it. All right, got some others coming in here. Where can I find MyQ training from a service tech setup focus? So very good question there as well. someone may even think I planted that question, but we didn't. Just this week, I hosted what we call MyQ University here in my hometown of Columbia, South Carolina. That's probably going to be something we look to do a handful of times during a year, where we work with a local partner. We bring folks in from around the country and host technical training. Outside of that, we can have an individual conversation about coming to your dealership to do training. There's also the MyQ Learning Portal. So if you have access to the portal of MyQ, there's online videos there for training. And if you're still looking at my screen, we have the MyQ documentation page, docs.myq-solution.com. All of our documentation is publicly accessible. So you can come in here, like today, I'm looking at print server. I'm going to change this from 10.2 to 10.1, which is the version that I'm running. And I come down in the list and click on quota, and I can see the different topics and information about quota. So all those are ways you can access training information about MyQ. Don't see any additional Q&A. Let me click over to the chat just to see if something came in there that we may need to address. Just a thank you message. I appreciate that, Gary. Thank you very much. All right, back to Q&A. I believe we have answered all the Q&A questions as well. So we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I promised a 30-minute-ish webinar, and we're right on that timeline. I appreciate everyone's attendance today. Next month, we're going to do the same thing again, different topic, same day and time. The second Friday of the month at 11 a.m. Eastern. The topic is going to be credit. So think about library or folks who want to have users fund an account before they print their documents. So they're getting their money ahead of time. We'll be looking at the credit function. So thank you, guys. I appreciate everyone attending on Friday. I hope you have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Speak to you again soon.